Welcome to the Big Suey, presented by DraftKings,
Why are you listening to this show?
the podcast that seems very similar to the other Dan Le Batard podcast.
I'm sorry, I'm not going to apologize for that.
In fact, the only difference seems to be this imaging.
I have been tempted in restaurants just walking past tables to grab somebody's fries that if they're just there. That hasn't happened to you guys?
I've done it.
And now, here's the marching man to nowhere, Fat Face, and the habitual liar.
Stugatz is off doing God Bless Football things. He'll be back at the end of the hour for TJ Houshmandzadeh. And we've got some Suey categories today. 3 Suey categories today. Chris Cody says he loves them. Most uncomfortable moment.
Ooh, is that a? Oh my God! I was
feel the tension.
The Paul O'Neill. We could have just played the entire Paul O'Neill interview. Honestly, it's the rare. Usually, in one interview, there will only be one nomination. Dan is nominated twice in the Paul interview. The start of it and the end of it. So check that out today.
Best story will be later on in the show, and best laugh as well will be later on the show. So we will have plenty to cover here. Amin Hassan joins us, and we are grateful for his presence. I wanted to ask you for a couple of different things. First of all, there is a great deal of controversy with NBA players and their 2K rankings.
Oh, it's the season.
Kevin Durant says it's laughable that he gets a 96 instead of a 99. Klay Thompson does not like that as a shooter, he's Luke Kennard. He's 88 instead of the 99 that Steph is. And a whole lot of people are wondering whether Jimmy Butler should be 5 points better than Paul George. So your thoughts on the 2K rankings?
First of all, laughable. That's another word I forgot on the list the other day. Laughable. Oh, it's laughable. This is something I can laugh at. That's what laughable means. It doesn't mean you're actually laughing at it. It means this is something I can laugh at. It's laughable. Stupid word. Stupid word. Get it out of the lexicon. This is the dumbest thing ever. And they do it every year. I had this conversation in my group chat with my cousins and my friends who work in the music industry. And they were saying, one of them said, I wish there was something reputable like this for music. And I said, you think this is reputable? They said, well, the players all seem to respect us. Like, no, it's a video game they play, and they're feeling hurt that their number isn't as high as they think they should be, which is literally every single athlete. Every single player in the NBA looked at his rating and said, not high enough, right? Every single one, starting with Kevin Durant all the way down. So the idea that this has any sort of weight or merit. No, it's just, if it were a game they didn't play, right? If it were NBA Live, for instance, nobody would care because they don't play it. But because they play this game in their free time, they want to know that I'm represented the way I am, which is why, by the way, one of the most popular features in 2K is is my player, right? Because that allows every single human being on earth to have that same feeling. Oh, I should be rated higher. I'm going to go work out and do this and that. But all of it is dumb and meaningless and just there just to stir up conversation at a time typically where we have nothing to talk about.
Oh, but they legitimately get their feelings hurt.
Yeah.
Like it's not fraudulent to say that Kevin Durant and Klay Thompson, and we've talked about this in general, just the spitting defiance of the Warriors winning the title, whether the new norm is going to be more and more craving of more and more respect and finding disrespect wherever you can find it. And the internet is plentiful in this regard, but lest Kevin Durant not get enough of his disrespect from the internet, he now goes after Ronnie.
Yeah, Ronnie 2K. What a guy. My favorite part is Durant kind of does that, and then all the people responding to him, and then his responses to the people. That's the funny part. That's what because he says that thing, and like 2 minutes later, someone has uploaded a very well-produced TikTok-style video where the tweet is the green screen, and the guy's recapping what happened. Well, Kevin Durant got upset, in a very serious news report way, and Durant's like, "My man, you were quick with it, huh? You just jumped to it." There's another one where the guy says, "That's because you don't have the it package," and Durant says, "What comes with the it package?" He's a funny guy.
How can you not love someone getting indignant and calling laughable? I shouldn't be 96. I'm a 99. I need 3 extra points. It's not good enough that my grade would be an A. I need to be a slightly higher A.
All right, so first of all, it says, A, Ronnie 2K, I'm going to need an explanation on why I'm not 99. This has become laughable. So for him, this is a trend of things that are happening, and this is just the cherry on top. But then the guy tweets that little video, and he says, you uploaded this in record timing, my boy. God damn. Which is a funny response. And then some dude says, because you haven't showed the he's it factor, big bro, and that's coming from a fan of you. This guy's real serious. So Durant responds, what comes with the he's it package?
What does come with the he's it package?
Like you're at a car wash and it's the highest tier of package where they detail your car.
That's exactly what it is.
It's 2 hours of detailing.
Right. But like this for me is in some ways like, not to get too serious about 2K ratings, but this is in some ways what the new media is all about. It's just basically like, who are the gatekeepers of who says that I'm good or not? And it's just some dudes that make video games that determine who are the best players in the video game, right? There's not a ton of science behind it. They're not the people who know most about basketball, just as we, the media, are like, how are we the gatekeepers on what's good and what's bad? And Stugatz yelling at Kevin Durant for making the wrong decision. Like, why does Stugatz get to be the one who determines that?
But that's why this is great, right? Because it's like a bunch of people you don't know, and they're like, watch Clay freak out to this. And then you just give them a random number knowing that you're going to get them upset. And by the way, then they're all talking about your video game. So like the worse ratings you give them, the more upset they get, the more there's free publicity for this video game where everybody's talking about the video game because they're upset about these arbitrary numbers.
Luke Kennard shot 45% from 3 last year. It's harsh to say I'm only as good as Luke Kennard. He's career 42.5% from 3. It's a good 3-point shooter.
It's just a funny name. It's just there's no one listening to this who
physical appearance.
Who doesn't understand why Klay Thompson would be offended that his shooting rating is the same as Luke Kennard. It's simply a funny name, and as an added bonus, he looks the way Luke Kennard does.
The other part of this is that Clay isn't a guy who talks, isn't a guy who reacts a lot, but when he does, it is very like vociferous. So think about when the top 75 players came out and he wasn't on the list. He was legitimately upset to the point where the Warriors were so tickled that he was so upset they hung a number 77 jersey in his locker. Like, hey, you almost made it. You're the 77th best player of all time. But Clay, that it hit him. That thing hit him hard. And so this is like another example of him, I think, feeling slighted, perhaps because of his injury.
For those wondering, because Amin said they put a 77, what happened to 76? It's because there were 76 players in the top 75.
Thank you. It's a good qualifier there that you're offering, Billy. I have some basketball questions, even though this is very much football week. What are the Warriors going to do with their salary cap problem, such that it is? I know that they go well into the luxury tax, but they've got to make a decision between Draymond and Wiggins and Clay and Poole. They can't keep all of those guys, correct, after next season? So what is the decision that they're going to end up making, do you think?
I think the name of the game is to win as many of these things as possible until you can't, until it's not viable anymore. And right now, they're in a position where their window is as open as it's been. They gave up. They did the right thing this offseason where it's like, hey, we had some role players. They played well. They went and got more money elsewhere. Mwah. Adios. Have a nice life. Gary Payton, go back home to Portland or wherever you're from. Hey, Bielitsa, you go back to Europe. Cool. Otto Porter, Chicago or wherever he went. Yep, that's cool too. Or Toronto, he went to Toronto. And then we're going to replenish. We got JaMychal Green. They got Dante DiVincenzo. And
they have rookies coming through.
They got
young players.
Young players coming through, which they planned for. They planned last year that we're going to play these guys as rookies because eventually that's the succession plan for those guys. So for now, they don't have to do anything. Jordan Poole is the most pressing issue, and if he doesn't get extended here before the start of the season, he's just going to be a restricted free agent next summer. And we see that typically tends to favor the team in terms of control, right? Whether you're DeAndre Ayton and you didn't want to be there and they're like, too bad, we're keeping you, or you're Colin Sexton in Cleveland and they're like, we don't know what to do with you, and then here comes a Donovan Mitchell deal, boom, we'll sign and trade you there. There's value in holding a restricted free agency rights. So there's no pressing concern to get Jordan Poole done, particularly as Tyler Hero. Tyler Hero still isn't done.
He's not done yet, no.
So it's like what Tyler Hero gets, what Colin Sexton got, what RJ Barrett got. Like all of these numbers, I think, are going to factor into what Jordan Poole gets because that's his peer group.
This episode is brought to you by the new podcast, Fast and Loose F1. Formula One drivers live life in the fast lane, both on and off the track, and Wondery's new podcast, Fast and Loose F1, hosted by Will Arnett, is here to cover it all. From McLaren to Ferrari to Mercedes, from Lewis Hamilton to Daniel Ricciardo, the world's most prestigious and fastest F1 teams challenge each other on the world stage. On Fast and Loose F1, you'll hear from the top drivers, managers, and team owners to get inside access into the high-stakes drama of the chase to win the greatest racing competition. Smartless co-host Will Arnett will be joined by two-time world champion, the Flying Finn Mika Hakkinen, revealing the high-speed twists and turns after every F1 race. Listen to Fast and Loose F1 on Amazon Music, or wherever you get your podcasts, or listen ad-free by subscribing to Wondery Plus in the Wondery app.
Don Lebatard.
Amino Hassan.
Stugats.
Amino acid.
This is the Don Lebatard Show with the Stugats.
We are presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app today and use code Dan for a special offer when you sign up. That's code Dan, only at DraftKings Sportsbook.
We get somebody writing in from yesterday's Knicks take. That's some stew-level hot take from Danny saying Knicks are mismanaged disaster because they didn't trade the kitchen sink for Mitchell. However, if they did and are at the bottom of the standings come All-Star game, Dan will be first in line to shout that they're a mismanaged disaster.
He's that guy.
I will be first in line. Knock people out of the way. 20 years I've gotten to be at the front of that line, and I always get to be right on mismanaged disaster. Another decade of irrelevance coming from the Knicks.
Dan, don't be ridiculous. You don't have to knock anyone out there. The bouncer's just going to pick up that velvet rope right here. This way, Mr. Lebatard. Come. We got your table ready in front of the stage.
Where do you stand on the Knicks and them missing out on Donovan Mitchell? And you're more qualified to speak on what I was talking about. CAA running the Knicks, Leon Rose running the Knicks, and he was supposed to get the players with relationships. I thought that, not player evaluation, was the strength there.
Well, I would be remiss to not say today's edition of Basketball Illuminati. We address many of these things, talk about that Donovan Mitchell deal and what happened with the Knicks. Basketball Illuminati. Keep your third eye open. Available wherever you get podcasts. We also talked to Sean Patrick Griffin, who we kind of did a post-mortem on that Donahue documentary. And let me tell you something, guys.
A lot of holes in it, huh?
A lot of holes. So you definitely don't want to miss
What happened there with Untold? They've done good work, but they trusted Donahue a little too much, to be honest, and they didn't vet some of the stuff he was saying.
Untold, to me, the power of Untold is we get these people in the chair. You're going to hear from these people. And now what they say is just, but we're going to take their word for it, but we get them in the chair. So they got Donnie in the chair and they got Batista and Martino. But the reality is, there were things that were, what Sean Patrick Griffin, who wrote the book Gaming the Game, which was the in-depth, definitive, account of what happened in the scandal. He says, there's stuff that I know because I wrote this book, and if you read my book, you'd know it too. And then there's stuff that just doesn't make sense. Like just on a surface level. Very lazy kind of documentary work, if you will. There's a part where he starts off, first of all, he mentions a lot of stuff, non sequitur stuff that has nothing to do with him. Oh, that Kings-Lakers game, one of the worst officiating. Was there any kind of fixing going on? No? You don't know? Okay, so what are you doing? You're just saying things. The other thing was, they never mentioned this in the documentary, and this is in the book. They said, he's 37-10. He's the Elvis. He's 37-10 on games that he officiated in. When he had to pick games that he wasn't an official in, including a handful that were Scott Foster games, his guy, he went to like 1-6 or 1-7. He was so bad, they told him, never mind. Let's just stick with the ones that you're repping, because clearly you have no insights. Clearly you don't know what you're talking about. And so there was a lot of stuff like that. Just the code they talk about. If I ask about your brother Chuck, it's a home game. If I ask about Johnny, it's a road game, right? It's the road team.
Because they feared they were being wiretapped?
Sure. Hey, let me ask you something. How does that code work when there's 13 games on the schedule. Meaning that can only apply to one game. Which game do you think he's talking about? Scott Foster's game? Is he talking about Tony Brothers' game? Derek Stafford's game?
I got you off the topic. You can cover. You can get more of this on Basketball Illuminati.
One last thing, because Tom came up with this one. They had the clip with Knicks Heat, and Derek Stafford hated Pat Riley, and Isaiah Thomas is his boy, and I knew he would try to stick it to him. Tom went back and watched that game, did the analysis. Derek Stafford called 16 calls. 9 of them were for the Knicks, 7 in favor of the Heat. Tim Donaghy made 18 calls. Set the line. How many do you think were for the Heat and how many for the Knicks?
Why don't you just tell us?
16 calls for the Knicks. 16.
Wow.
So if you're talking about the Knicks covering a spread because one of the refs had ulterior motives, that's absolutely true. But it wasn't Derek Stafford. It was Tim Donaghy. And he walked around in this documentary throwing accusations left and right that were just patently false to anyone who did 5 seconds of research, like Tom did, or read a book that Sean Patrick Griffin wrote, would have known immediately this guy's full of shit. But they didn't. And everyone's running around saying, oh, this document, I knew it. I knew the NBA was rigged. I knew, they're trying to silence this guy. Oh, David Stern would have had a drone strike to stop it. No, man, no. The guy's a liar.
Don't watch Untold, the documentary series with Donaghy. Do listen to Basketball Illuminati.
Bang.
If you want to be properly informed on this. Again, though, you're having trouble answering my questions because I asked you about the Knicks.
All I got out of that story is Tim Donaghy should be a celebrity prognosticator this year.
Again?
Oh,
we've used him before.
my
Yes.
Repeat offender. Let's do it.
Repeat offender.
Yes, we have used him before. The Knicks.
The Knicks. Okay, so here's the interesting things about the Knicks. We start with everyone missed the boat. Everyone's asking, did the Knicks not offer enough? Were they offering too much? No one stopped to ask, is Donovan Mitchell a good fit for this team? For $5, for $5 million, for one draft pick, a second-round pick, for all the draft picks. Is he a good fit for this team? Let's assume they got Donovan Mitchell and they didn't have to give up their precious R.J. Barrett. Donovan Mitchell, R.J. Barrett, Julius Randle, Jalen Brunson. Does that sound like, cohesive pieces that really complement one another? No, it's a terrible fit. Donovan Mitchell's a star, yes. The only reason they were chasing him was because he's a star and because he was a CAA guy. If you stop there and say, wait a second, what am I building? What am I trying to build to? Even if R.J. Barrett isn't there. Brunson just left Dallas because he doesn't want to play behind a guy who's ball dominant, right? Nothing personal. It's just like, hey, I think I'm a lead guard. I think I proved it when Luka was out. I want to be a lead guard. I'm going to do it in New York. Awesome. And then a month later, you try and go get another guy to make him go back to what he was doing? Come on, man. It's all ridiculous. No one stops to ask, should we do this? It's just, can we do this? But should we do this? The answer should have been no. So the Knicks, I think, dodged the bullet in not allowing their own lunacy to get them into a situation that was doomed to fail. The problem is, once you get into this, you're in a lose-lose situation. If you got them, it wouldn't have worked, and everyone would have said you gave up too much. If you don't get them, everyone's saying, I thought you were the guy that's supposed to get us guys, Leon Rose. And on that note, and you guys are going to love this one. Do you guys know who did the negotiation for the Knicks?
Who's that, Amin?
And for the Jazz? For the Jazz, it was Justin Zanuck, who is the GM. Danny Ainge is the president of basketball operations. Justin Zanuck is the GM. He does the day-to-day stuff. For the Knicks, it wasn't Leon Rose, this agent, negotiator, kind of shark from the business world, right? Who has relationships everywhere. That's what they sold us on. It wasn't Scott Perry, the GM, who does the day-to-day stuff. It was Gerson Rosas, who was hired recently as an advisor. Guys, I've never heard of an advisor leading the negotiation on, and that's not a knock on Gerson, right? Gerson is.
It sounds like a knock on.
No,
Gerson.
it's not. It
sounds
not.
like a knock on Gerson.
It's not because
we're knocking on Gerson.
We
are. We're knocking on Gerson.
No,
he shouldn't have been doing the negotiation. You're saying he shouldn't have been doing the negotiation.
I'm saying as an advisor, if he had a different title, so it's not the man I'm talking about. It's the position in the company, right? I would trust myself to negotiate on behalf of Meadowlark, but my title does not lend itself to be someone who should be speaking on behalf of Meadowlark, right? His title does not lend itself to be someone who should be speaking on behalf of the team. Advising, sure. Input, sure. But leading the negotiation, again, not about Rosas. It's about an advisor, not your president, who's a freaking former agent and was brought in here because of relationships and negotiating. And he's literally 0 for 2 on both of those things.
Mismanaged. I can go to the front of the line and accuse them of being mismanaged.
Right this way, Mr. Le Batard.
How about Bleacher Report?
Usual?
How about Bleacher Report? Yes, please. I'll have the platter of Knicks are always in a lose-lose situation, no matter what the situation is. The Bleacher Report says that the Miami Heat have the 9th best starting lineup in the league. This, as the 76ers add Montrezl Harrell, it seems because Daryl Morey and James Harden cut a wink-wink deal that allows the Sixers to have room.
Which team?
For Montrezl Harrell.
Where did he sign?
The Sixers.
I thought he signed with the Philadelphia Rockets. I got to check my notes here. Hold on. Yeah, no. Daryl Morey, James Harden, Daniel House. No, this is the Rockets, man. I don't know what you're talking about. PJ Tucker? That's the Rockets.
It's like they came to an agreement that, like, these are the only 12 players in the entire NBA that we like. Let's bring them all here.
Tad Brown, right? CEO?
You forgot PJ Tucker.
No, he said PJ Tucker.
Yeah, Steve Martin.
Sorry.
Steve Martin's on this team, too.
So this is what's happening here. This is just the Sixers are recreating. They're making James Harden as comfortable as he was in Houston when he was MVP.
Let me ask you something.
Or James Harden is making James Harden as comfortable as he was when he was in Houston as the MVP.
Let me ask you a very serious question. Everyone's like, oh, my God, they got Montrezl Harrell. Oh, they're so much deeper.
Why are they talking like that?
I don't know. This is when they get excited. They talk like this.
I'm cold. Not you.
I don't feel like that. Billy does that a lot, but I don't feel like Montrezl Harrell is the one that causes fans to talk like that.
They are, though. I've been on the internet. Anyone asked the question, why was Montrezl Harrell available to be signed in September?
He's bounced around a lot of teams. He put up good stats he's a good regular season stats guy.
With the Clippers, he was 6th man of the year with the Clippers.
Yes, he was. In a very small, concentrated role. We're just going there, give us energy, roll hard on the basket, to the basket, grab rebounds, but like be terrible defensively, not space the floor, generally be unskilled in a lot of other areas. And he wanted more, and he went a couple of places, and more was not to be found for him, and here we are. He's available in September to get signed. That's usually not a good sign.
I have a reason why he's available to sign in September.
What? Because he had a pending legal issue?
Yeah, well, the pending legal issue is that he was charged for felony marijuana trafficking, and it was reduced to a misdemeanor. So I guess that makes him more palatable to sign.
Sure.
What do you mean, sure?
I
mean, you wouldn't sign someone if they were facing felony charges.
I wouldn't sign him if he wasn't facing felony charges. That's my point.
What's up, everyone? 10 Day Tony here. You guys know I love staying active, whether it's hitting the gym, shooting hoops, or any other kind of sport. Even I have trouble with staying consistent. But I want to let you guys in on a little secret. Come here. Come closer. I know that gym intimidation, shout out to Chris Cody, is a real thing. And it's tough to get over that when you're getting back in the swing of staying active. The most important thing is showing up and having a plan, which is why I love Fitbod. It's the smart workout app that customizes an exercise program to my goals, equipment, and schedule. I could even do it in the shipping container if I had to. Some of my favorite things about the Fitbod app is the user-friendly interface that takes me step by step on building a workout plan that's right for me. Their algorithm uses data and analytics to scientifically build your best next workout and maximize results. For personalized workouts that get tougher as you do, join me and download the Fitbod app. Fitbod works on your iOS and Android devices too. Get 25% off your subscription or try out the app for free when you sign up right now at fitbod.me/Dan. Again, that's 25% off your subscription or try free right now at fitbod.me/Dan.
Don Le Batard.
Photography's not as hard as it's made out to be. And now with computers, I mean, you can make anything look like anything, Dan. It's almost cheating. It's not fair. Yep. If you push a button and it takes 1,000 pictures, you're going to find a good one in the batch.
There were a lot of photographers there taking thousands of pictures. One got that photograph. Okay, good retort.
Stugats.
Haven't you ever passed by photographers? I guarantee you when that shot was taken, we didn't just hear... That's not what you heard. If you were by that camera,
in my ear with that.
He does a good camera.
This is the Dan Le Batard Show with the Stugats.
We're presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app today and use code DAN for a special offer when you sign up. That's code DAN, only at DraftKings Sportsbook.
Man, y'all got a nice little production going. Got everything ready. Shit.
That is TJ Houshmandzadeh. We love his work going back to college. Love his work back when he was scoring touchdowns. And was it getting frisked by Chad Johnson in the end zone, or was he frisking you, or were you frisking him when you guys were running roughshod? That team won 10 or 11 games, right? That team had no business. That team never has any business winning 10 or 11 games. No, I'm not talking about. I'm not talking about the Bengals. I'm talking about going back to college.
No, that was actually, you know who that was? It was Ken Simonton frisked me. We had talked about it the whole week. Just being in college, man. Matter of fact, I think we won. I think we were 11-1. We lost to UW. We missed a field goal at the end of the game, but it was we were good. We're the best team in the country. And when I got to Cincinnati and got drafted to the Bengals, it was funny because Peter Warrick and Ron Dugans were on that team. They went to Florida State. Florida State played Oklahoma that year for the national championship. And I told them, I said, man, we'd have smoked y'all. But yeah, we were pretty good. It was Ken Simonton. I don't know if you guys remember. He was our running back, man. If I'm not mistaken, one of the top rushers, even to this day in Pac-12 history.
Again, though, Stu, guys, did you hear what the man said? He is of the belief, and I'm not going to argue with him because that team was overwhelming, and then they won their bowl game by 1,000,000 points. He's making the argument that his Oregon State team is the best team in the country that year, that nobody wanted any part of what was happening in Corvallis.
Hey, Dan, we actually had a lot of guys off that league play a ton of years in the NFL. Like, that kind of goes unnoticed. Myself, Chad, we had Nick Barnett, we had Dwan Edwards, and then we had some other guys actually play a handful of years in the league. But we're a pretty good team, man. We're just a bunch of guys from JUCO, and then the high school kids that actually got a chance, they played well.
I want to talk to you about your podcast. I want to talk to you about football in general and your Bengals career, but take us back to that JUCO-led team. You guys were renegade. You were dangerous. You were overwhelming. How much fun was it to play with a bunch of guys who felt like mercenaries? It felt like you guys were ahead of the curve on, no, we're going to put together a hodgepodge of people from all over, and we're going to drag you, and we're going to celebrate while dragging you.
It was a lot of those guys. Me personally, I played against them in JUCO, and so a lot of us took our recruiting trip up to Oregon State, and we was like, man, we come here, we can do damage. And I believe it was like 10 or 11 of us. We all just signed with Oregon State, and we actually did. You got to understand, when you go to JUCO, man, you're getting it out the mud, and specifically for somebody like myself. And a lot of people know this, but I didn't play a lot of football growing up. I played 1 year of high school football my entire life. I didn't graduate from high school. I wasn't much of a student. And going to JUCO was like that light bulb went off, and I kind of got my you-know-what together. And just playing with those guys and playing against them, I knew if a lot of us decided to go to Oregon State, we were going to be good, and we were.
You didn't graduate from high school?
No, I don't have a high school diploma at all.
And you were able to do that, to parlay that into, okay, I'm going to be a JUCO transfer, and you were thinking of it as a career?
So when I tell people that, they always like, man, when at least back then, I'm a little older now, as we know, when you go to junior college, you don't have to have a diploma. I just took the assessment test, and I've always thought I was a smart and an intelligent guy. I just didn't apply myself. I didn't like structure. I didn't like people telling me what to do. And so when you told me what to do, I was going to do what I wanted to do. So that's why school and just playing sports wasn't for me at an early age. But I scored high enough on assessment. I got into JUCO. I played my first year, and the head coach was Frank Mazzotta. He was like, I think you can get a scholarship out of this, and you need to start going to school, but what you need to do is go get your GED. So after my first year at junior college, he signed me up for the GED. I went and took the test, obviously passed it with flying colors. But it was because of Frank Mazzotta telling me, like, you're going to get a scholarship, so you need to go to school, you need to get your A, you need to focus. You're going to be able to do something with this. And that was the reason I decided I need to focus and start being a student.
TJ, you know what? I apologize, Dan. I apologize to you because I've looked back at that season, and you're right. They beat UCLA, they beat USC, they beat Notre Dame, they crushed Notre Dame, they beat Oregon. You were the best team in the country.
And it was a bunch of guys who, like TJ, did not want to be told what to do, and
Correct.
they found their coach in. They found their coach.
Yes,
in
their
the
guy.
In the guy who was not going to tell them what to do. Correct.
Hey, Dan, I will say this. About time I got to Oregon State, I was okay with being told what to do because unless you're your own boss, somebody's going to tell you what to do. So you're either going to fall in line and you're going to have a long, hard life. And so I didn't want the long, hard life. And so you fall in line. It's not to be a leader, you got to be able to follow. And so I truly believe that. And somebody's going to have to tell you what to do. And I'm coachable. I can be told what to do. It was just growing up with no father figure. I never had nobody, you got to do this. I've always done what I wanted to do. So anytime, like I went out for football in high school and the coach he was tough, man. He was a tough dude and he would start yelling and I would yell back and he'd be like, get out of here. And I'd be like, I'm leaving. And so it was like, if I want to play football, I got to listen to somebody.
How improbable is your story, right? Because it's not, I don't think it's normal to have as long a career as you did with that as the path.
It's not normal. I was fortunate, man. I know that. I didn't play sports growing up like a lot of these guys did. And so for me to play as long as I did and be in the situation that I'm, just the way I grew up, anybody that people that grew up with me, they knew my lifestyle and how I grew up, man. When you say come from nothing, I'm in the picture. My family is in that dictionary, come from nothing. That's us. We didn't have much, man. We moved around from place to place, Section 8, getting kicked out. I mean, I done had people murdered in my house because of the lifestyle that my mother was living. And so to be in a situation that I'm in now, but to make it the way that I did, we still talk about it, but at least the guys that I grew up with, like, bruh, you really fortunate to, and I used to say lucky, and people talk, you got to stop saying you lucky, but just fortunate and blessed.
Well, let me ask you some follow-up questions there. How much did you move around?
Oh, man, I moved around. Being from Southern California, I moved around from place to place to place. And then I lived in Texas for a period of time. I lived in Oklahoma for a period of time, and then came back to California.
Come from nothing means what?
Come from nothing means you're on Section 8, you're on welfare, your lights getting cut off. I got an older sister, 2 younger brothers. We sharing 1 box of macaroni and cheese, 1 box of rice-a-roni, all of us. Mother on drugs. So, back then you're on welfare, the 1st and the 15th, all that money go to drugs. And so we got to fend for yourself. I was 13 years old, Dan, living like a grown man. I was out there on the streets and I'm on the corner like I was a grown man at 13 years old.
You say the way your mother was living, that's what you're talking about? You're talking about the drug use?
Yeah. I mean, and to this day, Dan, I've never done a drug in my life. I've never smoked anything a day in my life because I saw the effect of that. And I didn't want that for myself. And so never done anything in my life. Cigarette, cigar, weed, never smoked anything a day in my life.
How were you able to avoid trouble given that there are a whole lot of people who just find trouble because desperation forces it upon you?
I was 13 years old. I was on the corner at 13 years old. I'm thinking I'm grown, thinking I can handle myself like a man. And so when you experience that at a young age, you got to grow up. I got 2 younger brothers. I was taking care of them and I was 13. They were like my kids, like I was hustling. And so I was buying them school clothes and making sure they went to school and I wasn't going to school. Like high school, I missed a whole year of high school. I didn't even go to school. I didn't even attend a day of school in high school for an entire year because I was on the streets taking care of my little brothers.
Were you scared, or does the fear eventually leave because you feel bulletproof and you're having success?
You feel like whatever happens, like I can hold my own. But looking back on it, like I have a son. Like I couldn't imagine him doing what I did at 13. I couldn't imagine that. But you do it and you adapt because you see, this is what you see every day. I saw it every day. And so I felt like I was good. I felt like I could protect myself. But you do feel bulletproof for sure. Yes.
Were you actually armed? You must have been at 13, right? Because you had to protect yourself.
A little bit.
I mean, you're a strong person, correct? Like you admire, you look back at what you overcame and you are proud of yourself, correct?
Yeah, I am. That's who I am. I don't wish that on anyone because a lot of kids you succumb to being in the streets or you end up in jail or you end up dead or just whatever may happen. I was, again, one of the fortunate ones. I'm not, it wasn't I would love to do that again, but it made me who I am. Like my little brother, he saw what I was doing and he did it and he went to jail for a long time. And so I was a bad example to him and he wasn't as fortunate as I was to stay out of trouble. And so that is just part of my story. It is who I am, but it made me who I am.
Did you have a chance or opportunity to choose a different path? Or like this is what it had to be because you shouldn't be in charge of a family at 13?
I mean, it was either, again, my mother, we lived with my mother, and my sister was pretty much raised by my grandmother. And so my sister, when I was hustling, was with my grandmother at the time. My sister is older than me. And so my mom was on drugs. I'm the oldest one in the house now. So in that sense, I got to look at, if my mama's not around, I got to look after them. I got to make sure they're eating. And so I see what's going on in my neighborhood. I see how they get money. I'm going to get money how you get money then.
Did Chad Johnson change a lot from college to the pros? You spent so much time together. Were you a part of him deciding, or were you near it when he decided, no, I'm going to go the Ocho Cinco route. There's a marketing machine here. I'm going to go brand management. I'm going to turn this into an act because there's money in it.
Chad is a smart guy. Chad is a genuinely good person, nice person, will give. He's probably too nice, too giving. But in college, I was a talkative one. You know, I was the shit talker, so to speak. Chad experienced success before me in the NFL. But Chad is smart. He knew he wanted to market himself. I don't believe he knew how big it could get and what he was doing. But Chad is a genius, bro. Chad is a genius when it comes to the way he marketed himself. And look what it's done for him now. And he's been out the league for a decade. And you say Ocho Cinco, everybody knows who that is. He's done a hell of a job with that. But I don't know if he thought about it or if it was just him having fun and it morphed into this.
You are doing a season preview and people can see it noon, September 12th, Fubo Sports Network, airing it out with Hoosh and Scandrick. It is with Orlando Scandrick, the former Cowboy. What are you guys doing there? What is it that you want to accomplish? Why are you pairing with him?
So me and O doing it on Fubo. It's we did a podcast last year called About the Game, me and Orlando, and I just thought our chemistry was we did a really good job with it. It was good. We had really good chemistry, me and Orlando did. And Orlando, I don't know how much you know, but Orlando, he just gonna say whatever he feels. I believe we're knowledgeable about football, and a lot of guys will say, "Oh, we're knowledgeable," but both of us, I'm not going to not say what I feel because I don't want to offend somebody. If somebody's not doing or playing the way they should play, I'm going to say it. And I know how it is. I didn't play the way I wanted to play. Fuck, I dropped balls. I dropped punts. I missed assignments. And so I get it. It's not what a guy's trying to do, but it needs to be pointed out if you're not doing what you're supposed to do. And so me and Orlando is going to give it a raw perspective of what needs to be done each Sunday. And if you're not doing it, we're going to let it be known.
I failed there. It is not obviously Fubu, it's Fubos.
What?
You're probably not the first and won't be the last, Dan, with that one.
It is Fubo, and it is Fubo's Sports Network that he's doing the
Nailed it.
podcast
Yes.
with Orlando Scandrick on.
TJ,
Yeah.
I have the Dolphins winning the Super Bowl. Do you agree?
No, you don't. You messing around.
No, I'm not messing around. I have them win the Super Bowl. Listen, I'm going to teach you about this business.
Where are you guys at right now?
We're in Miami. I'm a Jet fan.
That's why I asked that. Is that
TJ,
why?
I'm a
Teach
Jets
him about the
fan.
business? What are you doing?
No, I'm just trying. You got to listen. Once in a while, you have to come out with a wild prediction, and hopefully it lands, okay? And if it does, everyone will remember you forever. And if it doesn't, no
Really?
big deal.
Okay, so that's the advice that you have for this man, the life advice on how to do this in this business.
Yes.
Just say ridiculous things.
Yes.
You know what, though? I don't believe the Dolphins are going to make the Super Bowl, but I believe the Dolphins are going to have a really good season. I truly do.
Thank you.
People get on Tua. I like Tua. I think Tua's going to be fantastic. And I just don't understand. When you look at Tua in college, his receivers were so good that he actually went to the Miami Dolphins and he played with lesser talent. He played with lesser talent at the Miami Dolphins than he had at Alabama. He has those receivers now that can create separation, that can run, that he had at Alabama. His offensive line is going to be better. He has a lot of fast guys on offense. Mostert can run. Like, they have explosive athletes on the offensive side of the ball. I believe Tua's going to do well. Super Bowl, no, but I believe the Dolphins will surprise some people. They don't beat the Patriots this Sunday, that's for sure.
Attaboy.
That's for sure, he has said. What else do you have for us? If you were to take his advice and give us what is one of your more surprising or extreme positions, something in the sport that other people aren't saying, what would it be?
I believe the Philadelphia Eagles quite possibly will come out the NFC.
Whoa! Why are so many people saying that?
Yeah,
why,
the Eagles hype train is a real
why
thing.
do so many
Good
people
off-season.
love
They
that
believe in
football
Jalen
team?
Hurts. I mean,
if you look at them defensively, they're stout across defensive line, check. Linebackers, check. Secondary, with Darius Slay, and they get Bradbury. It's really going to be, can Jalen Hurts take that next step? If Jalen Hurts takes that next step, the Eagles are going to be a really tough team to beat. They have two receivers that can really play in Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. Now, we know they can run the ball. And all this is dependent on, can Jalen Hurts take that next step? I believe he will. Now, it's not going to be easy. The Rams, they're not just going to give it up, but the Rams have a tough schedule, man. They play the AFC West. They got a tough schedule. And then the Bucs. I don't know what's going to happen, when Tom Brady takes a sabbatical in training camp and how all this plays out. The Bucs are going to be tough to beat. But I like what the Eagles, I like what they did in the draft. They got young at positions that they needed help at. If Jalen Hurts takes that next step, I think the Eagles can be special.
Sabbatical in training camp?
Yeah, sabbatical. For me, I love Brady, man, but I just don't believe you can do that. I don't believe you can do that. It's just, I don't care who you are. Yeah, you're Tom Brady, and when you tell the coach that, he's going to okay it, but you can't do that.
Really? So you think that his teammates don't allow a wider berth just because of the absurdity of there's one guy in the sport you might make a different set of rules for?
I mean, they'll allow it because they don't have a choice, right? Todd Bowles, nah, Tom, you can't go. Okay, I'll retire then. So it's either that or this. Maybe not that black and white, but I just feel like when you're the quarterback and you're the leader of that team, everybody has problems. I get it. Everybody has problems, but to leave in training camp for a week and a half, if things don't go well, they're going to point to that. And if things do go well, they go, see, it's Tom Brady. It's not a big deal. And I don't believe it's going to matter because Tom is that good, but you can't be a leader of a team and take time off because you have problems. Everybody has problems.
You're speaking to a mentality, too, in that clubhouse, in the locker room, in the huddle, right? Where the ethos and the principle is so strong of we're all in this together. Like that the lack of dependability, I'm not surprised to hear you say that, but I don't hear a lot of people saying it because it's Tom Brady.
Yeah, and it's because of the type of teammate and guy that Brady's been his entire career. And you in New England, answer this. In New England, he wouldn't even think to ask Bill that. You're not asking Belly, hey, can I take this week and a half off? Can you imagine him sitting down asking Bill that? He wouldn't do it. And so you go to Tampa, it's that parent that I'm going to go ask my mom or my dad because I think I got a chance to get away with this. And that's what he did in Tampa. I just don't think it's the right thing to do. You can't tell me we in this together, we're going to do this together, and then you have a problem and you leave. And that problem can be huge. I get it. But there's a lot of guys that have a lot of problems that never get into the locker room because they know this is my job. And I have to do my job. It's a must that I do my job. And I can't take a sabbatical because I have a lot of shit going on.
Do you have a corner who spent more time than most talking to you that had a lot to say that you remember off the top of your head?
Yeah. I mean, it was always the teams we played the most. But I talked a lot. I would probably say Ike Turner. Why'd I say Ike Turner?
What's love got to do with it?
It happens with age. I don't know why it is that I don't know why Tina Turner's abusive husband was running around in a secondary chasing you.
I can't even think of his last name. What, from the Steelers? Ike. What's Ike's last name?
Oh my God! Why am I drawing a blank? And my entire room now is drawing a blank.
Ike Taylor.
Instead of Turner.
See, I know it was an Ike with a T. But yes, Ike Taylor. Like Ike Taylor, he didn't really start it, but if I said something, it was all game. And so Ike Taylor from the Steelers, yeah. And by the way, I think Ike Taylor's probably one of the most underrated DBs that played in the league, at least when I was playing. Everybody else got the credit in Pittsburgh. He didn't get much. It was going to Potamalu, it was going to Porter, it was going to that front, Casey Hampton and those guys. But Ike Taylor was underrated. But yeah, if you say something crazy to Ike Taylor, it's all game. He's not going to forget about it. It's the entire game, so just be ready.
Did you run into a corner who was more likely than most? The statute of limitations is up on this. It can be said now. You don't have to give everybody the bravado. Was there a corner the night before you're like, oh, my God, my hands are so full. This is going to be really difficult?
Nah, I never looked at it like that. I remember we were playing the Raiders, and if you recall, when they had Nnamdi, and who was the other corner? He went Fabian Washington. Marvin Lewis pointed out to me and Chad, like, they play man-to-man all game. If you guys can't get open, we're not going to win. And I could be wrong here, but I think me and Chad both had almost 100 yards at halftime.
So there was nobody. That the confidence level had to be in your offense so strong that there was nobody that was feared the night before.
Yeah, I think I'm a confident person. Anybody that knows me, I believe in myself wholeheartedly. It doesn't matter who I'm going against. And obviously, Chad, he believes that as well. And as I'm telling you this, my wife can hear everything that I'm saying. And she said, Ike Turner, wow, boy, what are you thinking?
Again, it is Fubo. It's the Sports Network airing it out with Hoosh and Scandrick. He is co-hosting alongside Orlando Scandrick. And September 12th, it's noon Eastern. Thank you, TJ. Appreciate the time, sir.
Hey, man, you guys enjoy that time in Miami. And if the Dolphins make the Super Bowl, at least I know one person that said it first.